Rachel Zegler. It is a name that strikes fear in Hollywood and especially in the halls of Disney. She's an even bigger thorn in the side of Bob Iger than the last dwarf standing. We're talking about Peter Dinklage, who managed to kick those dwarfs goodbye out of Snow White and the Seven Dirty Hippies, CGI monstrosities we don't know anymore. Well, Rachel Zegler has a movie coming out. It's going to go head-to-head against the Marvels this week. And we're here to tell you that no matter how the Hunger Games prequel goes, Rachel Zegler is going to damage Disney this week, and then of course in 2 more years when her Snow White movie comes out. We're going to explain how it possibly can be that there is no good story for Disney this week. Get ready, folks, strap in. We'll explain entertainment in a way that nobody else will, right here.
People think I'm doing poorly, and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the channel that continues to change pop culture, nudging it in an ever-positive direction. They go kicking and screaming, but we force them to go better and better and better, even when they don't like it. All right, folks, we are going to be talking today about Rachel Zegler and the fact that there is no way for the Hunger Games to go this week that doesn't damage Disney. Crazy, I know. And you might say, well, surely there must be some way. How can this possibly be negative in every single way to the Walt Disney Company? Well, watch the video, we'll explain. Today, our journey begins with comingsoon.net, and they will be reporting on an article out of Forbes. And we need to go there first because there's a bit of misinformation here that is making its way around the net. And frankly, with Forbes being a financial website, and their task is to relay, hopefully, factual information about finances, and in this case about the finances of a movie, well, it goes without saying that when they get it so wrong, they fracture the way that people see reality. And that's a real problem because you all out there want to know the truth, so do we assume so many other people, and they're just not getting it out of Forbes regarding Snow White and Rachel Zegler. Here's what it says. This by Carly Levy. Disney Snow White remake needs to make $340 million to break even. This is so wrong, by the way, that it would be like you guesstimating to someone that 500,000 people live in New York City. You, of course, would be imbecilic. And truly, this article, although Carly Levy is just reporting on Forbes, so can't fault Carly, but this article is so wrong in that same way because these numbers are ludicrously incorrect. Controversy has surrounded the Snow White remake since Disney delayed the movie to a 2025 release date. To avoid becoming a box office bomb, Snow White needs to break even at $340 million. We'll tell you the real amount in just a moment. Breaking even at the box office means that the movie has to earn double its production budget. No, it doesn't. According to Forbes, this number would need to be at least $340 million to qualify as a box office success. Financial statements from Forbes said that the Walt Disney Company spent $209.3 million producing Snow White. The huge cost could have come from the pandemic that delayed production. Film production was originally going to begin in March 2020. Filming didn't start until 2 years later in the UK in March 2022. Let's go through the list of things that are wrong here. Because, folks, you come to this channel to get the truth. We explain entertainment, we keep you ahead of the culture curve, and we tend to be right. And then that plays out in front of you, and we get a track record. And that's the whole thing. It's not that we're great. It's not that we're amazing. We just actually research stuff and tell the truth as best we can. How about that? What a novel idea. Let's run through this. All right. So first of all, the Walt Disney Company has not spent $209.3 million producing Snow White. This is a movie that is going back into production. It has been delayed to 2025 because it's going back into production. The $209.3 million is what they've spent so far that we know of on production. Because we suspect they're reshooting a large and vast portion of this film, and because there is significant post-production going into this, making these 7 CGI human-like dwarfs, we suspect that the cost of this film is going to be about that of making 2 films. 2 very expensive films, which, by the way, is also what they're doing with Captain America Brave New World. So it seems like Disney, for one movie, has to shoot 2 movies every single time. Bizarre, isn't it? It's what happened with the Marvels. You want to know why it's chaos? It's chaos because they had to bring in those actresses to reshoot the film, and then they scrapbooked it in the end to make it make sense. They had them come in, stand in the middle of her ship over and over, and do massive amounts of exposition. Doesn't work doing it that way, but they're going to try it again with Snow White. So 209.3 is only what they've spent so far, to our best knowledge. Also, the idea that you simply need to double whatever you make or whatever you spend on production, false. It's not even taking into account post-production, pre-production. It's not taking into account marketing at all, period. None, zero, nada. And it must be taken into account. So this number is likely, when you add it up, at the end of all of this with Snow White, 209 million spent so far. Let's say that they can do the rest of it for 100 million. Let's just say. And then let's say that, and this is ludicrously low, but we give them the best chance on this. Let's say that they market it for 100 million. It still gets you to $400 million. $400 million. And then you need to make twice that because the distributor gets about 50% back. After taxes and theatrical cuts, you get about half back. So 800 million right now is what we'll say. But I'm here to tell you, it's going to be higher. It's going to be a lot higher. And so the problem here, of course, is that this is coming from Forbes. Carly's just a victim. Carly Levy, just a victim of Forbes relaying this false information. If the writer of Forbes was a student and they needed to pass a class on film finances in order to actually be a reporter on it, they'd flunk. And yet, passing news out there as if they are an authority. And you have great numbers of people now who will believe this, and when it passes that number, they'll say, oh, it's a success, and it could not be further from the truth. Interesting how entertainment plays out. Now, over at Deadline, they are talking about this upcoming Hunger Games movie. This by Katie Campione and Anthony D'Alessandro. Fly, Songbird, Fly, Hunger Games star Rachel Zegler and more on emotion of singing picks timeless and classic country songs live on set. Here's what's going on. First of all, Rachel Zegler is not the star of this Hunger Games prequel, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. She's not the star, but she's in the movie. And from what we've been told, when she's in the movie, if it's a speaking part, she just exists. She's not captivating. She's not capturing the attention of the audience. When it comes to the singing, though, she's phenomenal. She's a great singer. She's a wonderful singer. The problem here is that this movie is going up against the Marvels, of course. And there's going to be something's going to happen at the box office here. Let's talk about it. Let's read the article first, then we'll talk about it. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes might be dressed up like a prequel in its early roots story of villain to be Coriolanus Snow. Mr. Snow, President Snow, we'll just stick with that. And some might think that Rachel Zegler's Lucy Greybeard is just an early days Katniss from District 12. However, those hasty generalizations would rob the film of its sublime uniqueness. For at its core, this sci-fi political action thriller has the underpinnings of a sublime romantic country western musical. And when you finally see it, you'll get what we mean. And basically, this is a puff piece. It goes on to talk about Rachel Zegler and her singing. Let's listen in real quick, folks, just so you get the gist of it.
So I just to ask, I heard you saying live on set, and I wanted to ask how that kind of helped you get into character and what it changed for you being able to sing live on set.
There's nothing like hearing one's voice in a space live. And as somebody who's been training vocally for 10 years, it was really...
We'll stop there because the problem with Rachel Zegler, this is what she doesn't understand, and she just needs to be taught this. She needs to be taught that when you say things like, as someone who's been trained for 10 years, and you make that face, what you are doing is you are emoting your narcissism, that you have been trained in 10 years and you are elite in this, and you have the ear that others don't and all that. Like, that might be true. But listen, if you want to be highly successful, one of the things you have to learn is you have to learn how to portray humility in a way that engenders goodwill from others. And this lady is speaking in front of so many people, and she doesn't understand that methodology. She doesn't understand it at all. What she needs to do is say, I'm so fortunate to be here. It was such a great experience. I love doing this. She needs to have that, she needs to take classes from Iman Vellani. She's doing a great job. Now, The Marvels is bad, but Miss Marvel, she plays that role well, and she does a great job in interviews. Rachel Zegler, even though she's not being highly offensive here, even though she's not being toxic, She just doesn't understand the way to portray herself in a way that will engender love and care and attention and adoration from the kinds of fans that she wants. This goes on to talk about just what a wonderful job she's done with the music. Now, why does this matter? Why do we care about Rachel Zegler and the music from this movie? Well, here's the deal. This movie is either going to come out and really just beat the Marvels down, or it's going to come out and it's not going to be all that great at the box office. I guess it could do middling, but really middling at this stage is bad because it's going to be compared to the original Hunger Games, one way or the other, and that did very well. So we're either coming out of this with a good storyline or a bad storyline. So let's play this out and figure out how this is going to happen inside the media, which, by the way, we understand these media types. We understand the access and corporate mainstream journalists in quotes, better than they understand themselves. But to explain it, folks, if this movie comes out and does well, it is going to defeat the Marvels, and therefore Disney is going to be faced with another round of a week of headlines about how weak the MCU is and how the toxic fans killed it. Not only that, though, it will take away the ability, although they'll still try it, but it will take away the ability of the asinine haters out there who say that trolls and bad people, they took down the Marvels, their voices were heard, the online hatred. Now, of course, that didn't happen with Barbie. Barbie was a sensation. It's the highest grossing film of the year. If Hunger Games comes out and does well, they won't have much of an ability to say that it was men somehow who destroyed the Marvels because men couldn't destroy Hunger Games. Now, they'll argue that men didn't care so much about Hunger Games, but that seems odd because, well, Rachel Zegler is highly unpopular with Disney, so good luck with that argument. So in that scenario where the Hunger Games does well, the Marvels will take a hit not only at the box office, but also in the narrative. And Disney doesn't like that. But what happens if the Hunger Games comes out and does poorly? Well, in that case, Disney doesn't get off the hook any better either. Marvel is saved in that case, and the stories will come out that will say that the box office is just down right now. November is seeing glum returns. Consumers are waiting for streaming and yada, 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 yada. They'll spin it because that is their preconditioned response to these sorts of things. They don't spend the time to think about novel takes on how things are actually happening. They don't actually look at the facts on the ground. They just regurgitate that which they've heard before. But in that scenario, where the Hunger Games comes out and does poorly, there's no way around this. It will be yet another financial flop, another bomb for Rachel Zegler. And she's been in quite a few of them. And so if it flops, if it fails, she'll be named as the cause of it. And perhaps by YouTube channels that you all watch. And when that flops, if it does so, it will only mean that Disney now has a starlet who can't make a dime, only knows how to lose them, leading their Snow White movie in 2025, which is already plenty beleaguered. There is no way out of bad narratives for the Walt Disney Company coming forward. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're even going to get into the tussle of trying to explain away what's happened with the Marvels or why Rachel Zegler either is popular or isn't popular, one way or the other. They just don't have a good plan for how to handle this coming week. And that is what happens, folks, when we put ourselves into positions where we can't find a good win. And for us and for Disney and for everybody else out there, perhaps it is a reminder. Do everything you can to keep yourself out of that position where you cannot find the win. You put yourself in that position by making very bad decisions over and over and over. And perhaps there are times when that happens to us of no fault of our own, but there are plenty times when we are plenty culpable for having put ourselves there of our own doing. And spending some time thinking about it will reveal that to us and how we manage to put ourselves in a hole that we can't find a good way out. That's where Disney is. That's where the media will be over this coming week. And that is how Rachel Zegler has placed herself in a position where there's no good story coming out of this that won't damage Disney. How interesting. At the very least, folks, perhaps websites like Forbes should be very careful about reporting the facts, because it turns out that channels such as this, channels such as Valiant Renegade, channels all over YouTube now are covering the financials of Hollywood. And that means it's very difficult to get away with putting out information that is misleading either purposefully or accidentally. It's also a great reminder for platforms out there to find authors who understand the content they're writing about. Folks, there's one person out there who is the perfect person to write content, and that's you. Drop a comment down below and let us know what's in your mind. You're the only person who knows that answer, and we'd love to find out. So drop a comment down below. Let us know what you're thinking. We covet your comments. We care about you and your opinions. Also, like, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. ThatParkPlace.com will have a major announcement coming up this Monday. We will have a special live stream at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have a press release, and we are preparing to position That Park Place to be the premier location for all of your pop culture news. It will now be a bastion of truth where you can go to find how exactly it is places like Forbes missed the mark, we'll say. Folks, it's been a joy sharing my time with you. I am so appreciative of each and every one of you who elects to join with me and share your time. You are not overlooked, you are seen, you are heard, and it is a great honor every single day that I get to do this with you. Truly, a great honor to share time with you. You're just the kind of person that I enjoy spending time with. Folks out there, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Say it ain't so. This just in. Disney lost money on another movie. Why, that can't be. I thought that John Lasseter fella over at Pixar was cranking out the latest hits, and Marvel was unstoppable, and Disney princesses were a thing, and Star Wars was a multi-billion-dollar money-making franchise.
I overheard you talking about Disney, and wanted to let you know you're really behind the ball. If you were getting great articles from thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel, you'd actually be ahead of the culture curve and have entertainment explained.